Hi all, this is Professor Collins, and this is the Excel workshop. And so today in the Excel workshop we'll be talking about independent sample t-test, or what's also known as the two-sample t-test. And this can be confusing because there's also the paired sample t-test, which is also it's somewhat similar. So just be sure you understand the difference between the two. So for today, what we're going to be doing is calculating and interpreting independent samples t-test using Excel, of course. And the use of the independent sample t-test, what we're doing conceptually in this situation is we're testing the mean difference in some continuous dependent variable, across two independent samples. So we're asking ourselves the question, is sample A significantly different than sample B on some outcome variable, on some dependent variable, right? So oftentimes it's something like males versus females, basketball players versus baseball players, right? Something like that. So that's what we're doing in this case. And these categories are considered the independent variable. So we have our 5 steps here. We state our assumptions, and these are normal across all the different types of t-tests. State our null and research hypothesis, establish our critical region, and the two we're going to focus on for the workshop here is computing the test statistic and interpreting our results. And so let's go over here to the raw data and see what we have. All right, now let's think that. Let's just set a scenario here. So let's say I manage a Kohl's store, a Kohl's department store, and I have a good friend who manages a Target store. And what I'm interested in is, let's say we have a friendly wager that over the winter holidays, we are going to see whose store has the most sales, right? And so here our dependent variable is sales per day, right? And so this is sales per day. And then as you see, we have each day, right? Day 1, day 2, all the way down. And we will go for 2 weeks, okay? And as you see how the data is set up here, you have Kohl's on one side, and under it is Target, right? And we have 14 entries for each, right, representing each of those 14 days of the 2 weeks. And then we also have the sales for each of those days. So here our research question is, are the sales over the holiday season different for competing Kohl's and Target stores? Now the key here is different, right? For us, different indicates a two-tailed test. We don't want a one-tailed test because it's not stating a direction. It's not stating that Kohl's will sell more or less than Target. It's just stating that there's a difference between the two. So in our first step, we state our assumptions, right? Those are standard. And we need to state our null and research hypotheses. So our null hypothesis basically says Kohl's is equal to Target. They do not sell any differently. However, the research hypothesis is that Kohl's is not equal to Target. So Kohl's sales are not equal to Target sales. But again, we're not trying to say which direction. Now we go down here and we establish our critical region, right? And because we say different, we don't say it's non-directional. We're using a two-tailed test. Alpha level of 0.05, as we typically do. Our degrees of freedom, 28 minus 2 for independent sample t-test, which is 26, which gives us a critical region of 2.056. Now let's get into Excel. Let's compute our test statistic. So here we're going to compare our test statistic to our critical region. So the way we do that is we can go to data, click open our little data file here, and click on our data analysis button. We can do that, and what we want to do here is scroll down to t-test to sample assuming equal variances, and we click OK. And now what we want to do is we want to input our variable ranges. Now because the data is set up this way, it's not side by side, we have to select specifically, we can't select an entire column, but instead we have to select specifically which numbers we want to use. So for variable 1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the sales per day specifically for Kohl's, right? So I'm going to select column C, row 2 down through 15, and that selects the 14 days of Kohl's sales. For variable 2, I want to select the 14 days of Target sales. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and select those. So I'm going to select column C, rows 16 down through 29, and that'll select the 14 days of Target sales. Set our alpha level at 0.05. And let's do our new worksheet, and we'll just call this results, right? And leave this blank, and do not do labels on this one because it'll use the first row of each of those variables as a variable label, and we don't want that because it'll take out that data point. And we click OK. As you see here, we got a little results box. And what we want to do, we just want to change this, just so we know which is which, right? So we have Kohl's sales and Target sales. And we're going to go back here and we will steal this and just bring it over here with us so that we can kind of see what's going on. And we'll zoom that in. Okay. Alright, let's bring this over a little bit. And as you can see here, right, the output's really nice in Excel. It gives us our all the information we need. So we have our critical region, which is this for the two-tail, which is this bottom row here. And because we didn't do a one-tailed test, we can actually just black this out. I just black it out so I don't get confused. So you can go ahead and do the same thing if you're so inclined. So the pieces we're looking for, right? We have our t-statistic, we have our p-value, and we have our critical region. Now our t-statistic is negative 3.83. And so if you get confused by the negative or positive because of the way the formula works, what you can do here is you can go up here and just simply look at the mean sales, right? And so what this is telling me is that for Kohl's, the mean sales is about $998. For Target, it's $1,344. So it tells me Target has more sales per day on average compared to Kohl's, right? So my buddy's store has more sales per day. And what we do is we can compare a t-statistic to our critical value. And what that's telling us is that because the absolute value of our t-statistic is greater than our critical t-value, we can reject the null hypothesis. So in other words, we can accept our research hypothesis, right? And another way to find that out is our p-value. So our p-value in this case is less than 0.05, or it's, in other words, it's less than our alpha, right? Our critical region alpha. And so now that we know that, we've computed our test statistic, we can interpret the results, right? So we can reject the null or the research hypothesis, right? So we can reject the null or accept the research hypothesis. And what I might say about this in your standard English terms is that there is a, or actually I would say something a little more in detail about the test, right? An independent sample T test revealed a significant difference Kohl's and Target over the holiday season with Target. And we can, nice thing about this is we can actually state the mean, right? You can do mean, or you can do your X bar, whatever you like. I'll actually do X bar just to give good practice there. So we can insert our symbols. I actually don't know if X bar is in symbols, so another way we can go about that is we can insert an equation. So we can insert equation and go to design. This is kind of a lot of work for this, just inserting this little X bar, but it's a little useful. And where is the X bar actually? Oh, it's the accent, that's what it is. So here's our little X bar. X. So you see there, X bar equals $1344.84 per day, right? And with Target, averaging more compared to Kohl's. So what I like to do is I just kind of steal, it just makes it easier, right? So I'll steal that. So it's important to actually have this the data in your interpretations, because the data it'll help you it'll help the reader understand a little bit better what you're doing, right? And it helps the reader understand the data, right? Or at least the differences in the data between the two samples. 998 point, where did that go? 998.17 per day, right, compared to Kohl's. So again, right, what this is telling us is that, and a good interpretation of this would be something like an independent sample t-test revealed a significant difference between Kohl's and Target sales over the holiday season, with Target averaging more sales compared to Kohl's, right? So this is the important piece of this, because this interprets the information in a way that's understandable to a reader who's not a statistics person, right? Okay, so that is our Excel workshop. Thank you for watching.